Hey players, this Peaches coming back at you one more again with a big what's said.
Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography, where old friends, fans come together to BS, argue, occasionally agree, and discuss a musical artist. This week's musical artist is Outkast. This was Tim's pick. That's Tim up there.
That's me.
Each week, one of us will choose an artist. We rotate out, so you get a variety from last week Deftones to this week Outkast to next week Devo. I'm your host, Jason. With me, as always, is the Wild Bill.
Oh, it's gonna be a wild time on this one.
And a special guest, you may know him if you've been watching our Album of the Decade series from the 90s, Joe.
Howdy ho!
Or if you're an old school of Old Drunken Discography, you may remember
right.
him from the very first video. We should do a
Season
live
one.
stream rewatch of the very first episode.
Oh, that'd be fun.
That'd be very
The
fun.
audio is terrible, but I don't know who's
Well,
running
that's
audio back
perfect.
then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. We could even, you know what? We could probably release the unreleased Gaslight Anthem videos
Oh, I think I
with us
deleted
talking
that.
over them.
I think that got deleted. I needed space on my computer.
I think I've got those.
Space for more content.
I
Yep.
could do them.
Still got that original Green Day save though. So yeah, Tim chose Outkast. If you'd like to choose an artist for us, check out our Patreon link. Like last week, a Patreon member picked Deftones for us. He's probably regretting that decision now, but you know, shout
And
out
Devo's
Trey.
a Patreon pick next week, right?
Yeah, and Sofa King picked Devo next week, so you know, you can
There you
choose
go.
an artist for us. And also be sure to check out the first Monday of every month. We'll be live streaming the show. And if my math is mathing correctly, that may be tonight when this video airs. Later tonight. Either way, April 7th, check it out. All right. Brief history / relationship with the artist. Tim, what's your relationship with Outkast?
Wow. Well, I lived on the Gulf Coast in the 90s, and so Outcasts were kind of always there. I got into them, first heard Southern Playalistic Cadillac music, and then was aware of every release every time. Of course, they got bigger and bigger. I remember when Stankonia was everywhere. Um, you know, I remember when Speaker Box Love Below was everywhere. I remember when Idlewild happened. Um, saw him live on the reunion thing, what, like 10 years ago now, maybe? And
Yeah, eight-ish years ago, 8, 9 years now.
something like that. Yeah. Amazing night. An incredible show. They did everything you wanted them to and more. Um, yeah, big fan of Outkast. Always been a big admirer of their originality, their style, and just, the inventiveness of it all.
Well, mine's briefer. Again, Gulf Coast, they've always just kind of been there. A lot of my notes is like, yeah, I remember my friends singing the hook to this song, Mamacita and shit like that, but never really deep dived them, but always liked what I heard. Tim's been talking about them for, I don't know, months now. We're going to do Outkast. So I've just kind of been listening to them over the last few months, preparing myself and falling in love. And this is a really hard discography to rank.
So harder to rank compared to some of the other ones we have a hard time ranking.
They're up there. They're up there.
Yeah. I was hoping you picked me first to say because I'd be like, never heard of no.
You could have still
Obviously,
done it. You still could have done it.
Outcast was huge in school. Once again, Gulf Coast, huge going through high school. You heard Outcast everywhere. I didn't really start listening to them until somewhere in that 2098 era. It's one of the two. It's either Quimini or Stankonia. That I know Stankonia, I knew all the songs going through. I knew all the popular songs going through it, but I think I may have known them right before all that kind of happened. yeah, and then obviously Stankonia and the Love Below specifically was just humongous with all of my friends and
with the world.
yeah, the world. I mean, I what's and we'll get into it. I'll talk about that once we get there.
All right, wow,
Yeah, I'll
Bill.
follow that up as the one guy who didn't grow up on the Gulf Coast here or in the 90s.
Up there in the
Um,
Northern Lights.
yep. I mean, that's pretty close to where I grew up here. Uh, so, it's something I've always said is if I had to pick a least favorite genre, like a general genre, hip hop would be my least favorite in general listening to. And part of that's because of how saturated the market's become in a lot of ways, and also how oversimplified sometimes it gets. That being said, going through and listening to a lot of Outkast, I was listening to songs like, oh shit, I didn't realize Outkast did this one. Like, I remember the song. I remember, like, it was always one by, like, hey, if this is a good hip hop song, this is not, the other crap that I'm hearing in, 2000s and 2010s. Um, which there's a lot of that. Uh, so going into doing this discography, I don't want to say hesitant, but it's like, okay, like I only know one song, and then after listening to it, it's like, oh, I know like 30 of these songs. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. I mean, primarily the ones I knew one from were Aquamini, Stankonia, and Speakerbox, obviously, but there's still some hints of some other ones. I'm like, well, it sounds familiar, but I couldn't have picked it out beforehand.
Did you say stank box?
I
Or
said
is that
speaker
just what I heard?
box.
Okay, I thought I heard stank box. And I
He
was
said
No, 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 no.
equimini.
like,
He did say equimini.
I got
I
you.
did. I said what I said, and I
Everything
meant what I
reading
said.
is tough.
Damn right.
Well,
The
especially
later in
when
night you get, the harder it gets.
you don't
What
believe in
was
space in your letters or space in your words.
what was the reading thing back in the day in the 90s?
Give a
Something
hoot,
worked
read a
for
book.
me?
Rainbow?
No, it was something worked for me. There was like 1-800 numbers you could call for it and all that. Hooked on phonics. There we go.
Oh yeah, yeah. 1-800 ABCDEFG.
Mhm.
It was up there with 1-800 collect.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
All right, well, let's just kick this one off with Southern Playlist to Cadillac Music. Who will start?
I can.
Kick us off, Joe.
All right. So big fan of the hashtag first album bias. I did enjoy this a lot more than I thought I would, being one of like my least listened to Outkast albums going through. I never really went back for this one. I mean, um, we all knew Players Ball, and we all
Hooty
knew
hoo!
the Hootie Hoo. So that's my big note. I forgot about Hootie Hoo. I completely forgot Hootie Hoo was a thing. And then I've heard Hootie Hoo through like 4 albums for Outkast, and I was like, holy shit, Hootie Hoo was really. I didn't realize Outkast had any Hootie Hoos in them. I thought that was who's the other guy with Hootie Hoo?
Pretty sure Outcast was where that started.
Really?
Yeah, I think
I thought
so.
it was I thought it was somebody else. I can't remember their name, so obviously I'm doing real good on remembering all that. Um, but songs like "Ain't No Thing," "Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music," "Players Ball," "Get Up, Get Out," "Crumbling Herb," "Funky Ride," "Deep," all great. Um, and really, when I was listening to this, I was riding around the car with the windows down. It was warm out, and I was like, "Outcast is perfect music for riding around with your windows down during like a spring or summer day." It was great. I think their use of multiple singers, not just necessarily Big Boy and Dre, but how they have other people come in, it just kind of flows really well. And I love the interludes that they kind of go through. And yeah, the beats. And like Tim was saying earlier, like the way they they were, to me, very unique on how they use music and their beats. Now, it doesn't always work. Sometimes they do some weird stuff that I really dislike, but that's distracting from the music. But a lot of times their beats and the way that they are presenting their lyrics is great.
All right. I'll follow up. So the opening lines of this discography are that shit shall feel good, delivered by the sexy sounding peaches, and it's fat like ham bone and tight like nap booty. 10 out of 5. This album sounds like a debut. It's rough, it's raw, it's dirty. It's the South, man. I love this sound.
It's raw.
My intro, I love how connected Andre and Big Boy sound on this. They sound like just two friends having fun making music. Ain't No Thing. I like the record noise throughout this record, really, but it really shows on this one. Welcome to Atlanta. The interlude kind of nails it. I mean, I've been to Atlanta multiple times, and they nail it. Title track, it's funky, it's jazzy. It's got like Jackie Brown vibes. Call of the Wild, those lyrics. Damn, will I graduate before I hit the summer? I think not. Officer friendly trying to dig up on me. He said I'm half-assed and got no future, and he sent me up to the creek and shit. Stroking like hell with no paddle. Top song contender. Players Ball, I mean the flow on it's just so damn unique. Claiming True, again, Big Boy. It's fucking crazy on here. Funky Ride's cool. I like how it starts funky as shit, and then it goes in like this reggae, slow, sexy jam, yet still kind of funky. Flim Flam, my note says Sack D's. Get Up, Get Out kind of reminds me of Tupac. True Dat, as a matter of fact, fuck being anything else. Crumbling, super interesting what words and when Andre comes in over the main flow. He doesn't just come in at the end of every line like a lot of contemporaries. It could be the first line, could be like right in the middle of the sentence. Like, it's just random and weird and super cool. Hootie Hoo's just fun. I think DEEP would be my low point. Just didn't really work for me. It was kind of long, but Players Ball, top song contender. I mean, yeah, this album, I love the sound of this record. It sounds like the 90s South, I guess would be the best way to put it.
I mean, you're starting with a song titled Peaches.
Yep. That's, I mean, 10 out of 5. It sums up the entire discography.
Oh, yo,
No.
Trunk.
I'll follow that up here. So, again, I was entering this not like knowing Outkast existed and like, okay, like I know one Outkast song, I thought. And Peaches, I'm like, okay, like solid intro, like how this is going. I can appreciate an album that does a great intro. I'll say this, Peaches might be my least favorite intro across all of them.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I may disagree.
But that doesn't
we
mean
got a
it's
hot take
bad.
for it?
It's just I like the other ones more, and I'll point out my favorite when we get to it.
I think I know my favorite. Yeah, there are some better ones. Yeah, okay. Got a
Yeah,
couple other choices.
We'll
yeah.
keep that in
It's up
mind.
there though. This is up there.
But I mean, it
Oh,
comparing it to
yo, Trunk.
other person, it's great. I will say it was a pain in the ass searching up this album on YouTube. Um, because I kept getting the song. I'm not even going to pronounce it, whatever the hell this album's called.
Southern
Um,
Playalistic Cadillac Music.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that one. And then I heard my intro to let you know. I'm like, all right, like this is rap I can actually listen to and stomach, like, and almost enjoy here. And then Ain't No Thing came on. I'm like, wait a minute. I've heard this before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit, wait a minute. If this is outcast to this one, I wonder if some other ones I didn't know about were also outcasts.
Ain't no
Which
thing
Ain't
but a
No
chicken
Thing was,
wing.
Mm-hmm.
yep. That was the only one that I outright recognized on this album. Um, That being said, the interludes, again, interludes can detract from an album and interrupt the flow in a negative light. These interludes were great. They really helped bring everything together. It really helped flow the whole album. Um, and coupling on that, reprises also can hurt an album, in my opinion, especially when it's inside the same album. But Playlist Ball worked really well reprised at
Mhm.
the end of this album. Definitely a better end than DEEP was. That being said, low point might have been Playman True, maybe, if I had to pick one. Really was no low point. Only negative that I might have had, honestly, listening to this album as a whole, it it sounded, I don't want to say too raw, but it sounded too, they really weren't in a box either, but it was like too, I don't even know the word to describe it. That's how that's how good the negative is actually.
Like
Uh,
amateur, not.
no, not even amateur. Like it was like they stayed they exited the stereotypical frame, but like sound sound wise, it felt limited, but that might have been limited due to technology or experience, if that makes sense.
I'd say
First
probably
album, yeah.
experience. Yeah, I mean they were young as shit.
Yeah.
Like they were doing great stuff, and that's why I don't want to simplify it is not the right word, but it's just it was very
It
like
sounds like a home. It sounds like a home recording.
yeah, but it's a really good home recording.
Right.
Was this before the dungeon, or
I mean, I'm pretty sure this is what birthed the dungeon
was this what
is
birthed the
this
dungeon?
project. Yeah. And yeah, CeeLo does get a writing credit on Call of the Wild. He's one of the many voices you hear on here, as well as the Goody Mob, of
Yeah, Goody
course.
Mob.
Um, yeah, this was an out of everybody's window for a number of years, whether you were inside or outside, depended on the day, I guess. Um, yeah, I mean, Peaches is great. My intro to let you know. I mean, that's top song contender right there, right out the gate. Ain't No Thing, top song contender right out the gate. That was just everywhere. That was like that's how you greeted people at Waffle House.
Ain't
Like
no thing but a chicken wing.
yeah, that's how you yeah, that was just how you how you went about your day. Southern Playalistic, the, the title track got that classic 808 sound. And in my notes here, I was really kind of starting to think about how in a post-chronic world, how much this is already standing out as something much more than just chop up an old riff, copy and paste that Dr. Dre was doing at the time. This feels a lot more natural, a lot more human, and that's
There is
only
a
going to grow.
little bit of that on here though. Like they
Yeah,
haven't
well,
completely,
of course, and
but it's '94 too.
and we're gonna notice it as the albums go on, all the intros and interludes. That becomes just a thing in hip hop you had to do,
Right. Yeah.
and so like it got ridiculous, you know. And so yeah, they're definitely playing the game, but inside the parameters that they have, in a mid '90s hip hop game, they're coming out swinging hard here. Um, Players Ball, I mean, that's just a jam. Claim It True, you got the shout out to Rudy Ray Moore, and that sweet Funkadelic sample is it's just a jam. Um, Funky Ride got that 808 back again, just great jam. Um, yeah, Get Up, Get Out, great. Crumbling
CeeLo should be a
Herb, great.
motivational speaker.
Hootie, yeah, yeah, it is. I even have that. It's motivational. It's like, okay. Um, and then yeah, Deep, like that's where I really start to notice the Funkadelic influence. That's just a space jam.
That
It's
figures.
just Yeah,
That's why it's my low point.
I like it.
yeah, it's a solid album, top to bottom. This is one you could put in your car for your trunk and just listen to it for 6 months
Mhm.
on end, and you'll be fine. Great album.
Anybody else got anything to add? I will say,
Uh,
I
A
just want to
deep
let
underground '90s classic.
I want to let it be known now before we have to start guessing ranks. I had to nitpick here in my rankings, so
It's a tough ranking for
mhm.
me.
just
Like, yeah,
just keep that
I
in
got
mind.
I got to tell you, one of my favorite lines from this I didn't mention though from Flim Flam got $80 for 14K gold change from white folks in Buckhead.
I
Yeah,
love how
you
you cut
Think
out
about that,
during
Rex.
that.
yeah, you cut out. I knew what
That
it was.
was
I know what you said,
perfect.
but
Oh, perfect. Okay, good. Well, I'm just gonna leave y'all guys. Go listen to Flim Flam. You'll know.
go listen to
Yeah,
Flim
right.
Flam
Shout
if you
out
don't know.
Buckhead.
All right, well, we're not ranking this one
Yeah.
because it's first automatically. Stick around though. AT Aliens is next, and then we'll start guessing. So, give
We'll
us a
see
like, give
y'all
us a
tomorrow.
subscribe, help us out. We need all the help we can get. And as always, what, Joe?
Be safe and make funkadelic decisions.
Ain't no thing but a chicken wing. We stopping to smoke out in the dungeon with the Mary Jane. They just some pimps, players.
And then you go a little woo, and then a little whoop, 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 and then it's all, and then you're ready to go again.